From the twisted realm of science and the darkest pits of reason comes chilling tales of godlessness. Bear witness to the unfathomable terror that is the Good Atheist.
Obama and Cheney had a speech simultaneously, so it was kind of like this.
Like a debate?
Kind of, yeah. On national security.
Okay.
And I think he must have said the word 9/11 like 20 times.
I thought that was
20
Giuliani,
times. They're like,
just
well, we don't have, there is no middle ground with terrorism. 9/11, 9/11, and some more 9/11.
Man with the side order of 9/11.
I think what's sad, though, is also the when you listen to the Obama speech, most of what he was talking about was literally just out of the mouth of George W. Bush. You know what I mean? Like that whole, it's become Prez speak.
You're talking
when you
about
can
what
say
Obama
something and
was?
do nothing and mean nothing, like saying, well, you know, we need to ensure the freedom of people, our nation, which is threat from, you know, haters of freedom or whatever. It's just become,
like,
it has
enemies
become
of
the
freedom.
narrative. Yeah, it's become Bush talk.
What does that mean? Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most awkward and weird thing to really say, especially if your whole angle is, hey, we're gonna talk to you straight up. No, you're not. You're just using the same lingo. It's just that now you sound like a lawyer rather than you know, a cowboy delivering these lines.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just mysteriously horrible. Now, the subject I wanted to bring up first is the story of a girl by the name of Amanda Donaldson, and I wrote about her just today, and it was due to the fact that she was fired recently from her job at a chiropractic clinic. Number one, I won't go into the whole chiropractic thing because that is its own show. I think I've done a show like that, but you know, once in a while with these things, you got to do them again, right?
Yeah, we should.
We should do another. We should do another kind of quack science kind of edition.
Those are fun. It would be like the early days of bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Back at the glory days when bullshit was good, rather than really preachy. Like it got a little preachy.
I stopped watching around season 5.
So anyways, she's an atheist.
Yeah.
And her husband's an atheist. Husband has a blog, and he writes some kind of religious rant. I guess he explains that he was tired. He was having an argument with a mother-in-law who was saying that they need to believe in God, or that this wouldn't have happened if they were like God, like believed in Jesus and that kind of stuff. Like, can you believe that? First of all, that is just. Well, I can understand the rant. If some motherfucker had told me that my wife would not have cancer if I believed in Jesus,
for having a lack of, was it she was being punished for her lack of faith?
I don't know if it was specifically that, but I know that
there's an article because I read it on your site and I followed like the links, and it was either
I was reading the guy's actual blog. Like I read the dude's blog.
Oh, okay. No, I think it was the doctor. Like when he was, I don't know, man. It was something crappy like that was said.
It was
cold,
quite
fucking like.
Quite shocking. So the guy writes a rant, and the boss, I believe what's his name, Dr. Scott Dawson, Doctor
MD,
MD,
my italics
fucking
and
ass.
like big asterisks beside that one.
It's exactly. Yeah. So this MD basically, fires her because and he states quite clearly that it's because he doesn't want anyone who doesn't share his beliefs to work under him, and apparently that's all right.
You don't want to have a critical thinker in a chiropractic.
Well, that's fair enough, but obviously if she was working there and she enjoyed it, she believed in that bullshit medicine. So hey, you know what? It's a job. Like my problem here is that Amanda is suffering from an aggressive form of breast cancer, and that now she's lost her insurance, and just cough it up to more of that sort of Christian goodness coming out there. But like, wow, you guys really are charitable. Yeah. And
see, our hands are tied. God wants you to have cancer.
Yeah, when it comes to atheists, like, you always feel as though there's always this compassion at the end of a goddamn bayonet. Believe in what we believe in, or we're not helping you.
That's pretty much it. It's such conditional. It's conditional assistance.
I can understand, say, if they would have done that stuff like 2,000 years ago. Tribalism makes sense. And one of the things that I wanted to say is I can give religion its due because at the very beginning I think that it was very useful to get people to work cohesively that weren't necessarily part of the same family dynamic. You know, that's a difficult thing to manage. People, like, you know, in the old times, how are you supposed to trust your neighbor? Yeah. You know, like, your neighbor would have other interests. Maybe he wanted to kill you, take your land. Fuck, you don't know.
Yeah, but we don't need tribes anymore. That's the thing.
Exactly. I mean, the global village is just that. It's a global village. We don't need we have moved beyond the purpose for, you know, like organized religion. Honestly, we have moved beyond that. But I mean, I want to give it kind of like a pat on the back and said, well, you weren't as barbaric as some of the other alternatives, but don't think you're the fucking your shit don't stink.
Done.
their glory days have since left them.
Well, that's the thing. You can't cling to like your achievements of, like, you know, 2,000 years ago, and still you can't ride on those.
I think it's funny that, you know, when, like, religion always tries to claim that it's at the forefront of most types of movements. Say a civil rights movement is a classic example, and, you know, for the most part that's partially true. But the other part is that it existed, and like, even though it was helped by the church, one of the main reasons why it was so steadfast was because of the church. You know what I mean? Well, it's like, yeah, sure, you were part of the solution, but you were a huge part of the problem.
Yep.
So, you know, it's like every time you create, you know, any time of good, there's a piece of shit that just leaks right out.
Yep. It's always sort of this conditional, or like stepping, like, maybe not 2 steps forward, 1 back, but something along those lines, where it's, you know, it's never 100% virtuous. It's never, there's always conditions, and there's always like that little aspect.
There is, and you know what? Sometimes those conditions are surprising. Let me tell you a little story.
Sure.
And that little story is of the birth of the internet. Now, before, internet. Like, we know, we may know the history of the internet of saying, like, well, this was started by DARPA. Advanced Research Project, whatever. Like, I don't remember the acronym.
I only remember that from Metal Gear Solid.
Right, but it wasn't actually, at the time where the internet was developed, it wasn't called DARPA, because it was, at the time, like, when the internet was first being developed, entirely a scientific institution. And then the military took over.
Right.
And from the birth of the internet, you know, once it became public, and once it got out of the hands of what was by then, I just guess, ARPA, was like, we were left with now DARPA. And DARPA is an evil military institution today, but they were responsible for the birth of the internet. So you look at the internet, you're like, this is awesome. Yeah. And you look at DARPA and you're like, this is horrible. Yeah. So every time something good is created, something fucking shitty happens. It's like that really lame-o concept of karma. Yeah, it's got some merit.
In a way, yeah.
In a way, exactly. I can see why a person might think that would be a cosmic force. It's not a cosmic force. It's just unintended consequences occur, and like, and the unintended consequence of Christianity now is bigotry and intolerance. Like, it is, they are always way behind now when it comes to any type of, like, civil rights issues or you know, morality questions. Like, they are really lagging behind in those kinds of things, aren't they?
But they're justified because of that book. And that's the, you know,
that glorified book.
That's the thing.
The best-selling book of all time.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure. what I was gonna say is, it's like, that's the thing. Is like, it's people of that devout can do something that horrible, like fire someone with cancer for not believing their beliefs, like, you know, without batting an eye, just because it's like, well, this is the rule.
Well, you've created a condition in your own mind where you can eliminate people from your life without feeling any remorse. Because the thing is, if a person has cancer, you're gonna feel a lot, you know, of empathy for that fucking person. You're just gonna be like, holy moly, this is a really serious thing you're going through.
Yeah.
But it's easy to kind of, you know, deal with that empathy if you can find some automatic system in your mind to say, this person doesn't matter. They don't believe in God.
Yeah, they're less than human. They're below me.
They've rejected everything that's good about this world. Like, the essential problem is, if you are a religious person listening to this podcast right now for some weird reason, I don't know why.
Glutton for punishment, I guess.
Yeah, maybe you got an atheist friend and he just basically
tricked you, like that 2 Girls 1 Cup,
where he's basically dared you to listen to the Good Atheist. Yeah, to listen to it. Say, like, I dare you to listen, and finally you're like, fine, you listen to 100 Huntley Street or whatever the hell that piece of shit show is called.
I don't remember. It's so boring. They always smile.
Yeah, whatever. The uber Christian shows, and in response, they'd listen to one of the Good Atheists.
Yeah.
And I would ask you to just kind of put yourself in the frame of mind that maybe everything that you think is good about the world is not encapsulated in your God. Like that, it's just you can have those things and not believe in Jesus. So, I'm just putting that out there that you tend to kind of poison everything. Christopher Hitchens had called his book, how religion poisons everything for a reason, because you tend to kind of be,
and
like
if not poison, at least taint.
At least some kind. There's it's like the date rape drug's been put in your drink. You're like it's a fuck everything up. Like everything's gonna be messed, and tomorrow's not gonna be the same. You're not gonna look at your friend the same way and be like, "Did you put date rape drug in my drink?"
You'll wake up a little disoriented.
Yep.
Might not be in your house.
Yep. Certain
Won't
parts of
your surroundings.
Your sexual organs are sore. You don't know why. And not a good sore, like a chafing.
Anonymous bruises.
Bite marks.
Bite marks.
Oh, no. That's wrong. Yeah. Yep. Making fun of the date rape drug. We're horrible people.
Classy people, yeah. I'm already can see myself contributing a certain touch of class to this podcast.
You bring the class.
I bring the class.
Now, let's segue away from this particular topic and onto something else.
Okay, sure.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole missing link thing.
Yes.
Now, I when I posted it up, it was very early in the morning. I had noticed that Google had put like a weird fossil on their logo, and I'm wondering, was this like Fossil Day or something?
Yeah.
Or I didn't quite know what it was. So I followed it up and started reading it, and my first impression is, holy moly, they found a primate skeleton, 47 million years old.
Here's our transitional fossils.
I'm like, holy moly, and everybody's calling it the missing link, so obviously I was caught up in the hysteria, swept up. Okay, let's put this up. But basically the reason I had posted it up is just that I thought it was going to be more hilarious as to what everybody else was going to say about it. And I had already listened to David Attenborough give his thumbs up and say, like, this was the bee's knees.
Right.
So I was like, well, David Attenborough, if I could say this is the bee's knees.
Rock on.
Who am I to argue with this? Like, this is a great discovery. And in terms of fossil finds, like, 47 million year old fossil, that's 95% complete.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And didn't you say that from what I read, it was like they could actually tell what the fur would feel like? And
yeah, they had some like soft tissue where it had petrified, stuff like that, and some of its first meal. Like,
that's
what did it eat?
Amazing.
Isn't that cool?
Freaking amazing.
What's cooler about it too is like the weird story of how it kind of just came about, like how they announced it discovered, because they kept it secret. Those bones have been discovered since 1983.
Are you serious?
A private collector had gotten it all laminated and stuff like that, and even I think in one of them, because it's two fossils of finds, I think. In one of them, he had sort of like a person just kind of tweak it so that it would look more complete.
Really?
Yeah. So for someone, it was a piece of artwork, really. But it's still, like everybody's still talking about like how significant is this find? What does it mean? And it's still really early on, because the guys did keep it secret for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was at Oslo in Norway. So they bought this for a lot of money, because apparently the guy wanted to sell it for shitloads of money, which I just fucking hate, man. Like, come on, you are rich already, and you do not want to donate this to science?
No, it's not as valuable as something like a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yep. Or who knows, like
the Cheetos,
the cheeses, the toasts, and those kinds of things. Anyways.
Anyways, back to science.
Science. I mean, that pissed me off for sure, but. Yeah. I thought it was funny, and this is what I wanted to mention, is that how many atheists are sort of like saying, like, we need to make sure that nobody thinks this is a missing link, and it's just only a cousin and that kind of stuff. And I mean, I was fucking lambasted on the site, sort of basically saying, well, you're making as worse a mistake as the Sudan incident. Remember when I had accidentally said Sudan was in the Middle East? Yeah.
Yeah.
That embarrassment? Okay, well, they were likening it to that, and I'm just saying, like, listen, calm down. I mean, I put a post up saying missing link found. Okay, I do that for SEO purposes. I won't lie. I mean, you don't get very many people reading your site if you're like very old monkey skeleton found. Like, no, you need to
potentially cousin related, maybe.
And this is
read more.
And this leads me to my other point, because everyone was like, well, we need to make sure that people are aware of this. So that they won't think it's necessarily the missing link, but it's because it's not a chain; it's a branch, an evolution.
Okay, right.
There's no supposed to be any links that you're supposed to find. That's not how it works.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're like, people don't even really understand it at that level. Like, you really do have to dumb it down, saying like, yep, pretty much a missing link. It's one of the missing pieces of information that we have about the primate species that we belong to. And this segues me into the other point that I wanted to get into, which is why we seem to have such a problem admitting that we're monkeys. Well, more specifically, apes. And I'm just like, why do we have this problem? I wanted to hear your thoughts. Why do you think? Why is it hard for you, let's say, to admit that you were an ape?
Well,
Like that you were just...
It's not generally hard for me to admit that I evolved from animals.
No, but you have not evolved from other animals. You are an animal. There is no evolve from animals. No. You don't evolve into something. I'm saying like that's the chauvinism right there. You're like, well, I evolved from animals. No. Well, you is an animal.
Well, yeah, I is an animal.
You is one.
I are an animal. I are an animal. No, it's true. I don't know. I think there's probably there probably is a certain, at least for me, like, yes, I guess from like a scientific standpoint, yeah, we're part of the same animal family. We're animals. We're part of the. You said it was. I thought it was chimpanzees though.
Well, yeah. Well, we're close. Like the chimpanzee is a type of ape, and we are part of that ape family. But the chimpanzee is our closest ape relative. Really. Okay. So I think it's followed quick after that by the baboon or something. I don't even remember.
Anyways, I think it's just we don't like we generally have this idea that we're above animals, that we're above nature. Let's say, not to get too preachy, but I mean, look at. And especially coming from me, Mr. Like, I styrofoam cups every day, but like we like the environment is for us to use and consume.
No, we do get
the earth belongs to us in a way. There's that mentality. So the idea that we're on the same level, the same wavelength, or the same page as like animals, it's like, no. Are you saying I'm no better than my cat? I'm better than my cat. I'm better than an animal, you know?
Well, animals have like this notion of territory. That on a weird segue, you actually made me think of something when you said that we think the Earth is ours. Yeah, but every fucking animal probably thinks the ocean is theirs, or that pile of fur stuff is theirs.
we have the great fortune of, like, you know, being able to talk and walk the walk.
Well, you know, we can take it and we can claim it. We have the power
so horrible
to do that.
There.
You did.
I'm not,
you know, you got drunk on our own power.
I got drunk on just talking about power.
Yeah, like, just say like, we're so powerful, Jacob.
I'm like a villain from like Fern Gully.
You would be a supervillain. Given some of that power,
seriously,
I think that you would misuse it.
I would abuse my power.
You just strike me as a person who would abuse power terribly.
Yeah, I think so. Even a little bit of power that I have.
It was that just now I realized how crazy power hungry you are.
When I used to play Mario Brothers and I was player one, I'd pause all the time when my brother was playing, just because I could.
Oh, you were that dick face?
I was that guy, middle of a jump, I'm going to pause it.
How many times did you do that?
Enough we don't play together I haven't seen my brother.
You pushed that limit.
I pushed that limit, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I get drunk.
I would have unplugged you. Every single time I was
me.
about to do a level, I would unplug you. I would have unplugged your controller. You know, probably after strangling you to death.
Yeah,
you were the smaller brother, right? And I seem to recall when you were a kid, you were
tiny. I was tiny.
Like just a bag of bones, like 30 pounds when wet, kind of a thing. How did you not get utterly crushed?
I would get crushed, but I mean, it was worth it.
Maybe that's why you have such a high pain tolerance.
I finished the game before him, so that was worth it. The cauliflower ears and the bloody nose was totally worth it.
Yep, like this broken nose, worth it.
Right here, this is level 8-4.
Yeah, I totally got him in one of those radical jumps, and he died.
Exactly, I know exactly.
And we were playing a game together, but there was no teamwork there.
No, there's no I.
I was the cock in that fucking arrangement.
What was that? There's no I in team, but there is in Nazi.
I prefer that there is no I in team, but there is in winner.
I like that one, but there is.
That's my own. I try to patent
That's
that one.
good. I like. You're patenting that one.
Well, you know what? Screw this whole quoting thing. I've been thinking about this. Everybody's like, "Oh, I want to be quoted. I want to be quoted. I don't want to be quoted. I want to be paid." Because apparently that's well, you know, that's the way the companies are doing it. You know, they're going around, they're patenting "just do it." Just do it is a phrase. Why should I pay any person any money by repeating that phrase?
Just do it.
If I say, well, listen, you need to just do it, Is Nike going to come down to my door and be like, well, listen, within the context of the conversation, we feel that some reference was made to Nike and their product, so we would appreciate you giving us $10,000. I'm like, why don't you suck my dick? Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Hey, what's wrong with you?
Just do it.
So you've never been to New York? Just do it. What are you talking about?
Do me the solid.
Hey, you need to do me this solid. All right, I'm going to tell you why I think we have a problem admitting
that's
that
what we were
we're
talking
animals
about.
and apes.
I'm like, let's talk about Mario Brothers.
No.
Oh.
No. We're going to talk about why it's so difficult. We're going to talk about our own species chauvinism.
Sure.
I think it actually works against us. You know, because every time we ask ourselves a question like, man, why did that guy do that? Or why did he have to crash his car? Why did he have to get drunk and do this crazy thing? Why did that person kill the other person? And all of those are easily answered. Like, for instance, you're like, why did that guy lose control of that plane and then everybody died on board? I'm like, because he's a fucking ape trying to control a flying device. Mistakes are inevitable. You know, like, have you ever had a situation, let's say you're playing a game, like, let's say you're playing Battletoads. Okay? Well, this is going to be a Battletoads. You're playing Battletoads.
Yeah.
And you're at that level where you're in those jet skis or speed bikes.
Level 3, my friend. That was only level freaking 3.
Now, you know as well as I do that having played it as much, you know what's coming up.
Yeah.
But sometimes your body betrays you.
Yeah.
Like, it'll freak out. It'll press up when you shouldn't have pressed up. You knew not to press up, but you pressed up. That's because you're fighting with that fucking primitive monkey who, when, you know, given only a limited amount of time, doesn't always make the best decisions. And we just have to kind of accept that. Don't put monkeys or apes in situations where their own... Any amount of betrayal on part of their body will represent their deaths. That's why, like, you know, racing is just so dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, you know, whoops, you know, like I freaked out or I had a muscle spasm and then I just careened into a wall. Like, these things can happen and we're really confused. But I'm like, let's get rid of that chauvinism and let's look at ourselves as these amazing apes. Like, seriously, like, you are not evolved from anything. You are an ape. You are just a naked ape. But you can do all kinds of fucking amazing things. You can have, like, I am communicating to you, fellow ape, using very sophisticated equipment. Like, I have professional recording equipment now, you know, hooked up to an external sound card, hooked up to, like, monitors and computers, hooked up to an internet, a device that can communicate with other people at the speed of light.
Which we can also make ourselves.
Yeah, we can produce this artificial. We can do all kinds of crazy things.
We can create our own suns.
And it's only getting better. It's not like we're creating less. People don't complain saying like, man, remember back in the days when we were making discoveries? We're not making discoveries anymore. Like, are you kidding? We're making so many discoveries that you don't even have the time to learn them all.
Look it up, yeah.
There are so many discoveries going on that some of those discoveries have been disproven and replaced with new discoveries before you even learned that there was that middle one. You know, that one that got discarded? You didn't even know about it because that's how much that stuff is going on. You're just not involved. And the reason is because when you have 6 billion of these amazing, brilliant apes, and if you could all get them to do something useful, I'm like, let me tell you something. You want to talk about a species being able to do something? Holy freaking moly. That would be impressive. And I'm like, that's the reason why whenever I think about, like, well, we descended from apes, I'm like, we are apes, and we're some pretty damn kick-ass apes. Like, we figured something out that, like, you look at the other apes, and you're like, you guys suck. Like, you're all friendly and stuff, and good on you for crawling around on some branches. But seriously, dude, you got to check out what we're doing.
We have guns.
we are doing something right here. We're figuring it out. Like, I am not being eaten by a leopard right now. The greatest danger that I face is from the carelessness of my other fellow apes. I have them to fear the most. And it's not even fear because they're going to harm me. They're just, most of them, irresponsible morons that get behind wheels of vehicles when they're fucking drunk. Or you decide to do all kinds of insane, like dangerous activities that make no sense. But you know what? They're apes. Of course they're going to do that. You get addicted to, adrenaline. You get addicted to all kinds of stuff because you have a very primitive brain. I'm like, well, that's...
I like that shit.
It really does. Who knew that it would really love heroin? Who knew? Why does this monkey love heroin? Well, its brain is wired to absolutely love and crave it to the point where it would likely shut itself down. Likely take enough that it would just basically fade into death. So try to keep heroin away from this ape.
If you take anything from this podcast, it's that heroin is bad.
Yeah, If you take anything away from this podcast, number 1, heroin is bad. Number 2, watch out for level 3 in Battletoads.
Yeah, I was about to say
because your body will betray you.
You can never complete it.
You can never complete it. Okay, with that is the end of our show. We will catch everybody for next week's bonus podcast.
Okay.
And also next Friday, but I'd like to thank my guest host Jeff for coming down here, bringing some Dr. P and some
Dr. Pepper all the way.
Dr. Pepper and witnessing. Like I wanted you to come down here too and witness the new podcast setup.
It is pimping, man. I feel like I'm in a radio booth.
Well, you literally are. There's like a little arm thing
there's
with
a futon mattress on the floor, but other than that,
well, you remember what the old podcasts were like?
Oh yeah, like huddled
in
around.
Front.
It's like like an immigrant family huddled around fire.
It just feels luxurious. Like you can literally do a show that is an hour and a half on this and not even notice. Because in the other ones, you'd be like, oh, is that 20 minutes? My back. My back's killing me.
I'm tired of hunching over this one little microphone.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Spitting on the other person as I talk.
Now, I'd like to remind everybody, if you do enjoy the show, remember that we have a bonus podcast that if you become a member, and the price of admission is $20 a year, and you get, an extra radio show a week, which ends up being about 2 hours of extra radio show a month for roughly $1.50, which, we hope is fair. We want to keep doing podcasts, and this is the kind of stuff that we do. We buy new equipment so that we can do the podcast better. We are committed to making these shows better. It's just that's what we're asking from you. So please consider becoming a patron. We would really appreciate it. So go visit the site and read up on membership because, there is a philosophy underlined here. It's not just saying, hey, give me money. It's like, no, you cannot make money in advertising in atheism. Why would you want to? Why do I want to be a slave to the advertisers? Right. I would rather work for you guys, like have you guys as my boss.
I was going to say commie, but I don't think that's the word.
No, well, it's socialist, probably.
Socialist.
This is a socialist experiment.
I think if someone actually plays this podcast back and listens to the things I've said, I've mentioned, destroying the environment, and I've mentioned monkeys owning guns, and now I've mentioned that you're a socialist. I think people would
Are you a Republican?
I might be. I could be. That would really conflict with some personal views, but maybe I'm a closet Republican.
There are plenty of Republicans that are closet homosexuals. So.